Welcome everyone for the this Tuesday program, English medium. We are going to have 1 hour in a discussion mode, and before going to the formal sutta, we have selected as Tuataka Sutta. Tuataka Sutta. I would like to open the discussion for anyone who wish to have interview reports or any suggestions or any criticisms or any other topics other than Tuataka Sutta. We will take few minutes. And if there are no such, we will go to the formal discussion.
Asray Bante, I am Kumara here.
Yeah.
Bante, there is one report we have received from Vishmi from Rockhampton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will read for you.
Yeah.
Vishmi, 14 years old, RSP, mindful walking. In mindful walking, I found my path and began walking. When I lifted and placed, it went from the heels to the arc, then lastly the toes. The floor was a bit cool and my feet were warm. And as I walked, I felt the temperature difference as my feet pressed against the tile floor. When I placed each part of my foot, I felt it absorbed some of the coolness from the floor. And when I lifted it, the coolness went away. Sometimes my mind drifted, but today it came back quickly by itself. I did mindful walking for 45 minutes. Mindful sitting. In mindful sitting, I found my spot and began sitting. During the start, I observed my breath. I felt the cool, long inhales and slightly warm exhales. The exhales were around the same length as the inhales, only a bit shorter. But as the session continued, the inhales and exhales got slightly longer and longer. After about 20 to 25 minutes of this, I started to become sleepy. I was subtle at first, but after a few more minutes, I began falling asleep for a few seconds and waking up a few times until I eventually fell asleep. I did mindful sitting for 45 minutes. General mindfulness. I mindfully cooked pasta. I was mindful of what the ingredients looked like as I mixed them together and how the consistencies and colors of the food changed. The food smelled good and I could feel the heat from the pan. That's the end of the report, Bhante.
Vishmi, I was trying to participate on 26th at 9 o'clock from the Kaduela on the Rockhampton listing, but I hope I entered the Zoom domain, but there were no session. But I also was in a mixed up situation because Sarana was not there. We tried our best. We called Nissarana Vanaya, but still it was not there. So I don't know what happened. Otherwise, I would have taken few, 40 minutes, and then the Vishmi is the girl presenting all these things. Now Vishmi is presenting the report, her report to the Tuesday report. Thank you, Kumara, you are mediating. And I was little confused nowadays. My computer is changing, phone is changing, Sarana is changing, Sagar is changing, and therefore very difficult to cope up in sailing in a troubled water. But in your report 3 times you mention in walking and sitting and frying, the heat experience to the sole or the handle, hand or to the nose. So you see the heat or cold to happen, 2 surfaces must be touched. That is what you call contact. When the 2 contacts happen, temperature must be different, otherwise you won't feel. Difference of temperature only you can feel. So therefore you have to understand 2 surfaces. If you are not mindful, you are concerned about your body. You don't consider about the other. Imagine when you are walking, you are in a cold place and you feel cold. That means your leg is heated up. That's why the difference. You imagine if you are leaving the foot on a hot rock, then you feel the heat because your leg is cooler. That I think we have discussed so far. But if you keep on the leg on the hot rock, you can feel your leg is absorbing the heat. You mentioned your heat is absorbing the coolness. For that, leg must be touched on the stone number of minutes. Not just by the taking and touching. That is what the Buddha says. Just keeping the leg on the hot or cold rock or whatever the surface, you feel heat and cold. But if you are patient enough to keep it, say, few seconds, few minutes, then you can see the heat exchange. You feel your leg is become heated up or become cooler, and that is what you call anicca. That is what you call difference. That is what you call changing nature. So for that you must have sustainability. The both surfaces must be touched and kept for a longer time. Or otherwise, same condition if you are keeping the leg, left leg keeping, right leg keeping, again the left leg and the right leg, you must understand first left leg touching and the second left leg touching, how much the heat absorbed, how much the coldness absorbed. And Kumara, can you read that sentence which is available in walking meditation? She felt the absorbing of the coolness to the soul. Am I correct?
Yes, Bhante. It says, I felt it absorb some of the coolness from the flow.
That is the most important, very subtle, and you young girl are very vigilant, very diligent, must be very sensitive to understand that you are step upon onto a cold surface and the leg is heated, and if you keep on touching, the coldness absorbed. And that difference, listen carefully, that difference absorbing the coldness from the leg is not male-female. It is not learned or unlearned. It is not ordained or unordained. It is not Buddhist. So that is the point you come universal in the knowledge. The heat absorption, cold absorption, if you can see, you are not just mindful, you have the clear comprehension. You have sati sampajanya, and that sati sampajanya comes, you become immediately superhuman and become universal, because that language is equal for anyone. Not only just keeping the leg on the cool thing and the feeling the heat and the cold of the two surfaces. That is also not possible for normal people, because they are talking about, complaining about the coldness of the rock or the surface. They don't understand, my leg is heated, that is why I feel the coldness. Not the mistake in the subsurface, your leg. Or sometimes you feel, my leg is cooler. That means you have to understand subsurface is hotter. And then it's a remarkable second hurdle. The third one is, if you don't mind, keep it for a few seconds and see how the leg is absorbing the heat and cold. How quickly they are changing. How quickly they are impermanent. And how quickly it is beyond your control. How quickly it is leading to suffering. All the three signata. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. For that you have to there. So today you started that story. You felt the absorbing of the heat. Please wish me. You are leading your three sisters. And you are presenting these things to the whole world. Because you are the person reading the report. Today your report is read by Kumara. Kumara is a very elderly guy. I don't know whether Vishmi is online. I don't think so. Rockhampton? Kumara?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Bhante, because now...
Can the control room check whether Vishmi or someone is online?
No, Bhante.
Yeah, never mind. You please discuss with her, or otherwise Kamal, and try to communicate not only the sati, not only the understand both the surfaces, understand the heat absorption or cold absorption. That's every time happening. Heat, cold, happiness, unhappiness, liking, disliking, longness, the closeness, furtherness, hardness and the softness, heaviness and the lightness, heat and cold, liquidity and the cohesiveness, all these things are changing. So whenever you touch something, you feel the most prominent and mark it. Two surfaces, two different things. Otherwise, please remember in physics, they say, both of them are in the same heat, you don't feel. That is not being called as a contact. Contact happens only to the two different grades. And then immediately the transition happens. That is infusion or induction. So that the rock can't feel, you can feel if you are mindful. If you are with a clear comprehension, then I meet another person, we have emotional, telepathic, emotional literacy. We can understand at the beginning, I understand him or her, later understand he also in the same token, understand if the communication don't happen, wastage of time. It never happened between married people. Never. Unmarried sex, yes. They know how to do it, everything. So that is why Kamesu Michachara is become so popular. Once married, you have a selective listening, you can't hear what the wife is telling. Wife can't hear what the husband is telling because they are exclusively hating each other. But the young girls and the young boys, if you can teach them, if they can absorb them, not only contact, but immediately it happens, Nissarana, and in Sinhala we call Nissarana Saha. Nissarana means from concentrated to diluted thing, chemicals are going. Other one is diffusion, but there's another term. If you are too much of concentrated, you can absorb water. You can suck water. That's how if you have some kind of swelling, you put magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate suck all the water, the swelling will go. That is called another name. So both of them we are being taught in the chemistry and physics, and exactly the same heat and cold, exactly the same hardness and softness, exactly the same in absorption. It is too common term, but there may be some technical term, may be the same. Too much of concentrated things suck others. The capitalistic people suck money from the poor people.
They absorb.
The exploitation.
Well, that's your putting your mind on it. No.
That's the way, that is the technically it is highlighted because they exploit others. Other people don't feel it. They feel.
Wicking is the word.
Yeah.
Dhamma means wicking.
Yeah. So that kind of a thing happened among the heat, concentration. If you put a little salt, a little sugar into the pepper butter and then put into water, it sucks water inside, through the diaphragm. Too much of
Chromatography.
Yeah, not the chromatography, something close, and exactly the same. If you live with the heated person or sexy person or hated person, abnormally you suck it. You become contagious. The contagious is the source. That's the emotion, but it's a chemical one. And the physics, yeah, the physics and the chemistry says chemically concentrated things suck water. Physics says too much of heat and too much of coldness, they have diffusion. And these kind of things, that is how the thermos flask came into being. Cut off all the diffusion in three ways. Radiation and conventional version and the direct touch. And that is the way rich people, they make them comfortable. Suck callous. So that is how our mind, whenever we are interacted with something, the diffusion start. This way or that way, and that is what you call anicca. So you have to be triple mindful. You have to be very vigilant. very diligent. So in the discussion we can go into just in the intuition. But immediately you have to understand you are 100% responsible if the other person is with hatred. If I get hatred infused or diffused, you are also responsible. Not only the person is spreading hatred, the other person is too much of greedy. So when you association him, ultimately you don't know, gradually you also become greedy. So that is your weakness. He is just having his character. But why you absorb? Because you are not monitoring how it is coming. So it's a very interesting thing. You can explain physics, in sociology, in chemistry, and that is being psychiatrist also. That is why the Buddha says, always associate true people. Associate virtuous people. So whatever you absorb, it's ultimately leading to your benefit. Otherwise, for the cheap, it is available, and the abandoned, you are associating the foolish. Ultimately, naturally, you become a fool. Okay, that's all. Wish me. Thank you, Kumar.
Thank you, Bhante.
I'd like to just really highlight, because it was very important in this interview, was how Vishmi is able to practice formally and then move that practice into daily life. So while cooking and doing other activities, she's able to, again, take that development that happened in the formal practice into daily life, and that attention and awareness from the cushion and from the walking practice into daily life. So the noticing of heat in the practice was being transferred, that sensitivity, into daily life. Because a lot of people will say to me, oh, how much do you practice? And I have to say, I practice all the time. And then they say, how much walking meditation? Well, whenever I'm walking, I'm mindful, And they don't seem to appreciate that this is possible. So it's very heartening to hear a 14-year-old girl is doing this, because I was discussing this, that I can see younger children, like down to 8, even younger, we can teach mindfulness to them, and even younger than that can also practice meditation. And they can be better than the parents, and they're doing something very naturally and very easily. And this is bringing the practice out of practice and into operation, into life. And in this way, there is no difference between practice and daily life. In fact, the practice is daily life in the end. And formal practice is just development. It's just a learning opportunity or an intensification, but the daily life is where the real meat and potatoes is. The real food is in daily life, and having that mindset in daily life is very encouraging to hear. That to me is a triumph of the Dhamma.
Young ones are better than parents and elderly, and better than Buddha Rakkhita also. He is saving his own life. They are practicing more than Buddha Rakkhita. That is my remark. Yes, please. Don't give the mic back to him.
Venerable Buddha Rakkhita Thero will forgive me. Actually, I don't listen to him much. Today I was so happy listening to him, and I have ever gratefulness to Vishmi. Vishmi is 14 and I am 58. I don't know how to when 58 subtract 14. I don't know the result, to be honest. 44. It was said. 41. So there's a 41.
114, 1 and 4, 4 and 1.
Okay, whatever. 44. I said there's a gap. And Vishmi, you've been a teacher to me. And as Venerable Buddha Rakkhita Thero told, it's so beautiful. I was smiling through bottom of my heart to see, oh my God, practice has come to the real life. So when you're cooking, you could be happy. and it really touched me and lifted me, and I feel so elated and happy. Thank you very much, Vishmi, and thank you very much, Venerable Buddharakkhita Thero.
Thank you very much, Venerable Dhammajiva.
Yes, obviously, yes.
Great Maha Thero.
Yes, you have to refer to the Maha Thero, otherwise how the discussion can be conducted?
Your ego is so...
Yeah, I am sitting on a high chair.
You seem to be weak.
High chair I am living in.
So, number 2, the Maha Thero was telling the chemical and physical impacts of this absorption.
Visaranaya
Diffusion.
විසරණේ වගේ වැඩි තැනින් අඩු තැනට යන එකට මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? අඩු තැනින් වැඩි තැනට යන එකට වතුර
ආශ්‍රවණය
විසරණේ සහ ආශ්‍රිතය. Thank you.
And he was talking about Visarana and Asruti, I think diffusion and absorption. So, and Maha Thero was explaining it in the chemical aspect and the physical aspect of it. And
socially also, emotional literacy. And even our late Maha Thero, Jnanarama Maha Thero was mentioning, you don't have to be mindful, you just be sitting or you just associate mindful people. This is what our Maha Thero tells all the time. This is what my teacher told all the time. It's contagious, he says.
Contagious. And then again, and even our Maha Thero always tells, okay, be with sensible people.
Don't be with Buddharakkhita Amthuru and like that. That's also another part.
Finally, my mother happened to be she's dead and gone. She happened to be a nurse. She tells me all the time when I was small, look, in the mental hospital, all the nurses and doctors are mad. So this was very funny to me, and I see how this happens now, because it's the association. So I would slightly agree with my mother. I don't insult nobody, but I think it happens. So it's a great thing, I think. Thank you again, Vishmi, because you were the root cause for all this to come out.
Yes, American. Yes, carry on. Go ahead.
So, this is not related to this subject per se, but I just wanted to say Anumodana to Anlam, Tuyet Miller, Kathleen Nguyen, and Nam Tran for deciding to contribute to the expenses for the roof that on the Dhanasala that was damaged.
Who is the Dayaka?
Their names are Anlam, Namtran, Tuyet Miller, and Kathleen Nguyen.
So, from which country?
They may all be in the U.S. I know that An is in the U.S. He's actually...
How was the communication from here to there? How does they know that my roof is broken?
An is my kapya in the U.S. So
you are the culprit.
So yes, I said that I wanted to contribute. I had gotten some money had been donated to my requisite fund. He's my kapya in the U.S. An. And
ask him to that. I am going to go to USA. If you have any.
So anyhow, I reached out to him. I said I wanted to some of the money that the donors gave to you. You're my kapya. Some of the money that the donors gave to you for my requisites. I want to give some of that money for repairing the roof.
So that means you are the real donor. That means.
So.
No. No.
Anyhow, I don't want to talk about myself, but so anyhow, I reached out to him, and then he said, I want to help too, and so then he must have gotten these other people to contribute as well. So a total of I think $400 is going to be. I think a total of $400 US. Yeah, total of $400 US. He said.
That means 400 into 3, 120,000.
So I just wanted to say anumodana to them, for contributing
I
to
was
the...
just leaving Nissarana, then
Yeah.
I heard the cyclone, and that day, the how do you call, Himawatena again? Ice cubes.
Hail, I think, right? Hail?
Did you experience?
We saw some of that, yeah.
And then I got the photos and I see the broken this thing. I was so busy. Hemanta came, then Bante told, Bante, please see, Dhanasala broken. Then I told, there were no trees right now. No, that is the very tree we bind into the other tree, and with the cable, everything it fallen into. And then Kuti number 13 is showing his hand with ice cubes. Then I told, that is why I started the burner here. Because in future, we are going to have a snowfall, and then I must have a hot water. You do understand? This burner we are making?
The water boiler.
Yeah, that is because in time to come, there may be some snowfall.
Anyhow, the money was raised for the repairing the roof on the Dhanasala and also for other maintenance projects around the monastery. So I just wanted to say anumodana to them for their contribution, or for deciding to contribute.
Thank you. And thank you. I appreciate that kind of understanding from the people from the far away country, helping, communication. Thank you.
Just about the report that was given also, I wanted to, Swaminatha mentioned that he was saying how all this, when we report temperature, and particularly temperature was mentioned, the coolness, it's impersonal. It's not, anybody knows temperature. It's a part of it's a natural element of the natural world of physical things. So I just I want to just add to that the earth element, water element, fire element, or temperature element, and wind element are all natural things in the physical world that have no, we're also, our bodies are made up of these elements. So when we get in tune to these elements, we're getting in tune to the entire universe of physicality, and that you're also, in that way, you're recognizing that this body is made up of nothing special. Everything has these elements, and the body is also made up of these earth, water, fire, and wind elements. And if you take one of those away, then life isn't possible. And you're getting in touch with the not self nature that the Buddha taught, of that this body isn't a permanent self. And Bhante Maha Thero was speaking of anicca, which is change. So because this body is always changing and made up of these elements, it's also there's no self that's permanent here. So you're also getting out of the suffering. I think if you focus on the not self nature of this body, then we're not so caught up in our emotional and our delusive qualities, our clinging to a self. So we can see that the body is also greatly made up of elements that aren't anything permanent or that can be called a self. Thank you, Swaminatha.
To make you surprised, I would say she is having Asmi, Vishmi is having younger sister Asmi and Sitmi. Sitmi is now 7 years, about 7 years. She would have given a much more brilliant report because she is daily practicing. And if I go there for Sunday from 9 to 10, they all are making reports. And the way the Vishmi is reporting, last time when I go to Brisbane, whole family came. And Vishmi was the only Sitmi was the only natural girl. All the others were little mature and they have the stage fear in front of me and kind of. Otherwise Vishmi and Sitmi, Ashmi, they were very friendly with me. But this time only the Sitmi was playful. I asked the mother and father, they told this is the way they are when you are growing up. They have some kind of closing the psychology and the opening of the psychology. And Vishmi used to practice, report me weekly. So I daily, even I go to Kadwela, I open my Zoom and spend about 45 minutes. Vishmi is the one reading. She can sit at least 45 minutes and at least 45 minutes of walking. And Sitmi only 5 minutes. She is playful and drawing and all the kind of thing, making noise to the sisters and kind of thing. But still she is practicing. Ashmi, Vishmi, Sitmi. And their family, whole family is with the mindful family. And all are, according to their own age, extraordinary. They know how to read, they can how to write, and they can lead someone. So when someone is not there, they are having some mindful school and they are sharing something like this, how to put that into the day-to-day life. So that's what I wanted to add as a remark. Okay, we have taken about for 20-25 minutes and I think it is still fruitful. And now I would like to cordially invite Venerable Vidarakita to continue with our traditional appointed sutta, please.
So we've come to the verse, having obtained food and drink, things to eat or clothes to wear, he does not hoard them, nor be agitated if he does not obtain them. So this is a very immediate practice for anybody in the holy life. We don the robes, and to even become ordained, we have to acquire the robes before we're ordained. And so we bring this wealth from the lay life into the holy life. And the clothes and food have a purpose of sustaining and maintaining us in the holy life, but nothing more. And though it can be read as some reference or point towards the holy life, it's also a general teaching here, having obtained food and drink, things to eat or clothes to wear, he should not hoard them. So this is not specific to the bhikkhus or the bhikkhunis, but also to lay people. So once we have the basics of, we have necessities, all beings have necessities. So again, a lot of people will sometimes look at monks and say, oh, you don't need this and you don't need that. No, we're human beings and we have necessities. We need food, clothing, shelter, and medicine as basic necessities. These are the 4 requisites. And we require these things. And so here this practice of not hoarding the necessities or the requisites when they're in abundance, or not being agitated when we don't obtain them, is really about understanding very clearly what is necessary in our life. And most people are these days living in an abundant state. So there's a cost of living crisis, as it's said in many countries. But the real measure is, do I have enough? Is this enough? Because when we have enough, we should clearly know that. And that is the point where, having obtained the food and drink and eating and clothes to wear, he should not hoard them. So when we have more than enough, we can we know we have more than enough because we can afford to give it away. We can dana it. We can be generous. When we don't have enough, we can't give it away. So sometimes in Burma, people are very poor and they would give the shirt off their back. And you would have to tell them, look, you cannot afford to make this offering and to please not give right now. It's not a suitable time. And, you know, you can see other people in the West where they have such an abundance of material wealth. And then they're giving you the poor mouth. How they're hard up. They can't afford it, and you know, they go over to their Lexus SUV hybrid, and they have no, shortage. And it's in the mind. So I get out of this practice of having very simple, you know, 1 or 2 robes, and you know, wearing what I'm given and eating what I get. And I try to tell people, you know, I eat pretty much the same food every day. Here in the monastery, it's vegan and it's vegetarian and vegan, and we get the same essential fruits and vegetables every day, and it's quite spicy. All the dishes are quite spicy, so it tastes kind of similar. And so every day is pretty much the same in a way what I eat. And this is a discipline, you know. It's also a discipline, like in my case, I'm not eating my home cooked food that I grew up on. So it's not that I dislike Sri Lankan food, but I eat more Sri Lankan food than most Sri Lankans. I assure you, most Sri Lankans don't eat as consistently Sri Lankan food like I eat it. And then I eat once a day, and again I get reflux, and I get it's very difficult for me to fast. You know, the Ayurvedic doctors will tell me that it's not good for my health to fast. And many of the monks have diabetes, in part because they, you know, maybe genetic reasons, or because they ate too much sugar when they were younger, but they have diabetes. So it's really difficult for us to maintain these restrictions around food. But we do it. And I often tell people, look, the wrong question to ask is, why do this? The question really to ask is, what do you get out of this? What do you get out of this? And I get tremendous discipline out of this. So when I teach meditation, at the end of teaching meditation to people, they know as much as I know. I don't hide what I know. I tell them how to practice, and this is how I do it. But the difference between me and them is that I have discipline. They don't have discipline. They'll walk out the door and never do it again and forget all about it and not bother and don't practice. And I'll tell them you can do this in daily life, and they don't practice, like Vishmi. Doing it, that's amazing, to have that discipline too. So this discipline is arising out of this practice, especially around food and drink and clothes and accommodation, you know, to have that humility, to have that, to find the joy in the food, you know, to find the sustenance in the food, and not, you know, to put aside one's wanting is a great victory. And to do that every single day, it builds a tremendous discipline, and that discipline is another generalized force. Then, you know, you from this practice of restraint around food and clothing and so forth, like where I know I have enough, and I have to tell myself at times, you know, this 1 or 2 robes is enough. And you know, people will say, oh, Bhante, those monks, they practice Dhutanga. You know, Dhutanga means hard to practice. And I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? I do that every day. I don't even think about it. This is normal. This is every day. Or people will say, oh, I went on retreat, Bhante. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's every day for me. That's normal for me. So it's enough. It's enough. And in this modern time, this inability to see what is enough is just so bad. So here in this verse, we have this reference to the essentials, the requisites, and that a bhikkhu has to, or anybody practicing, has to know what is enough. And then what is more than enough? And if it's more than enough, I can give that away as generosity. And if I don't have enough, I can't give it away. And have that mindset here of not hoarding, on the one hand, not having that stinginess, and on the other hand, not being agitated and having this sense desire. If I don't have enough, if I see others getting requisites and benefits and fancy things, and I don't have that at all, so it becomes a mental game. But it's a mental game that I benefit tremendously from. One, it reveals my defilements, and two is I get a great discipline out of sustaining this practice and doing it for many, many years. It never gets old. I never there isn't a single day that I'm not hungry at night and trying to deal with reflux and all kinds of things. It's a real challenge, but I do it because I derive great discipline from it. Anyway, thank you, and maybe Maha Thero can tell us in Sinhalese and Pali.
Yeah, we can talk about the
You
four
want to say
requisites.
the Sinhalese and Pali?
Four requisites by name Buddha is giving. That means annānamato pānānaṁ khādanīyaṁ atopi vatthaṇaṁ laddhā na sannidhiṃ kairā naca parittasetāni alabhamāno. He says the bhikkhu or a practitioner, food, drinking, chewables, brick and chew, that means we can say sweets, cakes and kind of thing. And for regarding clothings, never keep on storing, and that means sharing. And the other thing is, if the necessary thing is not having, if you don't have enough, not worrying. So that is talking about the eating, chewables and drinking, clothings, and dwellings and medicines not mentioned. There are four requisites. So, but the Buddha says these are called materialistic. That's called amisa. Amisa means tangible. But instead, you can share niramisa. That means the metta karuna mudita upekka. You can share with others. There is no exchangeable thing, but that is also possible. And more than everything, sharing Dhamma. Dhammadanam sabbadanam jinati. So we monks, we are depending on others on the four requisites. So if we are having too much of unwanted things, best thing is to share with others. You can share with other monks and nuns and other mendicants, not with the lay people. Because this is given to some kind of precept holders. So if you are giving it to other people, this is not the main idea of the donor. So we share with the Passahadamiyan, Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni, the Samaneri Sikkamana. We can share. But those who are coming to practice here and observe precepts, then we can share. That is, we justify them. And not otherwise. But the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, is the best. And therefore, when you are sitting and practicing, we'll say few seconds, and other people can see a silent figure, that's a sermon silence. And when you are walking, if the other people can see how nice he is doing walking and be happy. No sermon, but the 1,000 words sermon is happening. That's called silent sermons. So that's why people are happy to come to the monastery, because they can see groups or individual, indoor, outdoor, they are practicing. So by looking at, you have so much of peace. Rather than giving the voracious, good articulation and good sermon, that is what happens. So when we go to the town, when we go to the academic centers, we go to the other places, so much of brilliance of the teaching materials and audio visuals and everything, but nothing improving. Their ethics, their restraint, and their emotional intelligence, literacy, emotional literacy never develops. But they try their best to have teaching techniques. They have all the material, but won't communicate. Because, just like Vishmi, not applying them into their day-to-day life. That's limited to the lecture room, limited to the auditorium. When you come out, so yesterday we had a discussion in the University Grand Commissioner, and all the university duns came, and Buddhisasana secretary appointed myself also. Otherwise I would have come yesterday, but I participated, and they say that basically about the discipline of the Buddhist monks in the universities, worst. Now you see YouTube, you can see how much they are there, because country, normal people also rebelling, and the monks are in front line. Some people say, so if they wanted to organize a rebel, or a, how do you call, shouting and kind of rebellions? Protest. They bring robes from the outside, and some people they ordain in the place and put them in front. They are not traditional monks. And when they go there, situation is completely different. Very senior monk is telling me, Venerable Dhammajiva, if you can teach the monks, all the protests will be ceases to exist. They are leading, of course not the real monks. Other people are being ordained on the spot, shaving the head and put a robe. And they caught some people. And this is how it happens, because the ordinary monks, the universities, they are maybe less than 1,000 monks. Government is funding so much. And senior lecturers, they are professors, monks, they say not a single lecture they come and appear. For 3-year diploma course or 3-year degree, they are staying in the hostels 7 years, 8 years. Because everything is given there in the hostels. Everyone coming is confusing, because these monks are having such a authority in the hostels, no one can go there. Recently police raided, and they found what is available. And they say, even if they go to the lecture room, they are zombie. Then they ask, why? Have you taken drugs? Have you taken ice? No. Our senior monks not allowing us to sleep. Continuously 3-4 days, you have to break rest. And then giving them so much of exercises, ultimately they are in insomnia. Even if they come to the lecture room, they can't listen. Simply they are not coming. Their main strategy is not to get the pass in the exam. Just to stay in the lecture room. Hostels. So they were talking. Then one monk told, the resource person is here, Venerable Dhammajiva is here, we can start mindful school. Then I told, please, our center is there, we can accommodate 100 monks. We have done about 40% of the Sri Lankan Pirivena, and this is about the university. No, Bante, you can't tackle them, they will never come here. They will never go to place whatever you are recommending. Then one of the senior monks told, first, soon after the selection, they have to go to Nissarana and have 2 weeks retreat and then come to the university. If you go to university, you can't discipline. They never respect Buddha. They never respect Dhamma. They never respect teachers. And this is the way they have been taught. If they go in Dhammaduta work and abroad, and if they are going to teach, only the hatred. They don't know how to sit comfortably. They don't know how to walk in the path comfortably. And how the hell? Lay people know. They know. Because they are practicing, because they have the tension and the frustration. And this, when I am listening, I told, had been a forest monk, I wouldn't have heard about them. But due to Satipasala, I got the invitation and went there. I told I will make a proposal. Before next the meeting, I will give, if you like, you can accept or reject. And this is the way orientation must be. Not only for the university selected higher education, even in the Pirivena, even in the Dhammasala, Sunday schools, not limited to Buddhism. This is the way it happens. So I told, we have about 40 monks in Nissarana. We are so happy. We are fighting, we are criticizing. But at least few hours, we take our own time. We sit, we walk, we discuss together, we have sermons. And I think 40 is enough. Enough. Don't think about great numbers. If you go this great numbers, it's utter failure. That's what the Japanese people got. They told, we can conquer the world if 5 Japanese come together. Not big numbers. They got together. They prepared the biggest, highest economy in the world. But in Sri Lanka, we are prescribing others and Dhamma, teaching Dhamma and everything. But monks are not glued together. No super glue. Mindfulness is the super glue. Then I told, I am not to teach you fellows because you all are PhD holders. Ekaino ayam bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhya. This is the one and only way for the purification of the being. I am not going to teach you. I am going to give you a timetable. We are doing. We are doing with the cancer patient. We are doing with the prisoners. We are doing with the non-Buddhists. We are doing with the adverse childhood experience children. Successful. It's utter failure with monks. Utter failure with monks. But I told, with all pain, still we are inviting monks and giving the retreats. When they are coming, they come like beasts. They come like reptilians. And later they understand our monkhood is for Nibbana. Our monkhood is for restraint. After 2-3 days, at the beginning, they are very unhappy about taking their cell phone. Taking not giving meals in the night. In the other retreats, very senior monk, open road, 3 meals with chicken for the monks. And the cakes and milk in whole day. No shame. No shame. Then I told, we are little. We have an example. We can't go such a high level, but we have started with the Satipasala with the national level, 4.2 children, and they are also included. Now I can make a little program and we can run it and then see, because many knew by now the Satipasala. So that is how we, not only the 4 requisites, there we have to share. You have to go and see a Kaduela. All the people are coming, each one is given a meal, each one is given a tea, and each one is given the basic instruction, each one is absorbed into the Satipasala. It's like a Disneyland. Atmosphere is more open. And whatever the accumulated in the stores, I get the permission from Sangha, I send it. With so much of sharing there. So I send it to the other centers also, and wherever I find some good thing, I bring it here, and I try make it open. But Nissarana is a secluded place. It's for the residential lay people and the monks, and their atmosphere, they are happy. But Kaduela is a meditation center. And yesterday I got down a psychiatrist for a special case. He was not practicing Buddhist. Then I told, that is your crime. Come and practice in Satipasala. And he told, Bande, I have been in the main cities, Colombo, Kurunagala, Galle. The main supply of psychiatric cases from the meditation centers. Many come from via meditation centers. By practicing, they go mad. They come for medication rather than come to the meditation and send to the medication. Then I told, I may be wrong. This is the wrong thing in the samatha meditation. I have 40 years of experience. It may be very scorching. It may be little harsh. But I very carefully make a statement. If you go for samatha meditation, if you go for compassion rather than the wisdom, this is what it happens. Ultimately, teachers have no way. You have to send it to the psychiatrist. They ultimately hate Buddhism. And the teachers hate children, students. Students are hating children. But in Nissarana, we all are mad. We are talking each other. We can accommodate psychopaths, no harm. But no compassion. We are not rejecting panya. We are always sati sampajanya, no compassion. We are sharing material, but not out of compassion. Please listen. Please understand. We give necessities. We give with our consciousness, not with emotions. We give it to places where they practice mindfulness, not otherwise. So therefore, please come with me. Please help me. Please correct me. Please share with me. Please play mad with me. No harm. Anything you have to say?
I just wanted to give a different maybe possibility is that Swaminatha, you're saying that people that go for samatha practice go mad, but maybe they're already mentally they have issues with like hatred and other psychological issues, and that's maybe why they go to samatha.
That is the point the psychiatrist made. He says not meditation make people mad. Mad people are happy to go to meditation centers. You fellows Bhante leaders must be aware. That's why I told you people, psychiatrists must come and help me, but you must be mindful. You are psychiatric, I don't care, unless you practice mindfulness. But Freudian psychology, I have very little knowledge. But Freudian psychology, Buddha psychology is much, much higher. So Freudians can absorb it, but if you, psychiatrists, if they come and practice, I have a few numbers of psychiatrists, they are mindful, and I send it some people, if they have psychiatric case, I send them, because they know. Otherwise, other psychiatrists, they re-establish your ego, rebuild your ego and send it. When the ego destruction happens, they don't know how to handle that kind of case. Recently, one mad person came to the Dhammajiva. He is mad. He can't, when he meditates, nothing he can see, and mind is no limits. And one day he expressed it. So then parents took him to the Devalaya. You heard where that they get trance and get the God, and God is giving the mediation. We have places. So when they go there, that particular God, the keeper, just mentioned, please go back to the same monk, get the instruction, he is very advanced in practicing. So Venerable Dhammajiva says, he is a God believer. He believes in mystics. But in meditation, when you go to that kind of places, unless otherwise you are a practitioner, you don't know it's a psychopath or psychiatric situation, medication or meditation. But even Achan Brahma is telling like that. Some people go mad. If he is a practiced psychiatrist, he can understand. In practice, you are losing your boundaries. You are losing your ego. Then you feel like the what you call range. What is that disease? Autism. Autistic symptoms can happen. Parents can't understand. The friends can't understand. Maybe psychiatric, maybe psychopathic. But the meditators also get it. So then, unless otherwise you have a dialogue, unless have the friendly dialogue, you misunderstand. All the results considered as problems. So when I go to question and answer session, just like sit me, the wish me, they just express. Then I say, I may be wrong. For me, this is an advancement in your practice. Your ego is dissolving. Your meditation object is dissolving. You feel like unmindful. You feel like sleepy. You feel like lost. But again you come to the very bright mind. Again the lost mind. Something like that. So you have to keep on practice. So therefore we have to understand the naughty and rustic mad people. You have to understand advanced meditators. And you have to keep both the ends. Otherwise, by refusing all the notorious mad people, you can't understand how complicated the mind is. Why my mind sometimes go astray. And again, mind come to the very bright situation. So even my mind is such a pendulum-like, wavering. So we have to share with it. So not only the foods, four requisites, your knowledge must be shared. Not only with the bright people, shared wherever it is needed. I am not telling about the psychiatry and counseling. I am telling just interview. Meditation interviews, then we are very great advanced meditators. Otherwise we are good psychiatrists and the double mad. 8 to 9 minutes, anyone having, or are we going to the next stanza? Any view? The Sudhamru is not happy with the views. He likes to go to the book. No? Please pass.
Seems a very interesting discussion, Bhante. And when we come to from the practice side with the main object, and when it kind of evaluate, and sometimes there's an evolution process going on, and we see that sometimes our in-breath and out-breath, it kind of decays, and at times there's an emptiness, and likewise. So what I see, if we observe it from outside, and also like American Bhante told, with the four elements and its kind of relativeness, and the same thing I think happens when we come to the Arupavachara side, where emptiness also kind of relative at times, and when we look from outside, I think at times we can see the Anapanasati, for instance, going on, and on the other side there's gaps and there's emptiness also, and mind is also playing his own games and kind of magic. So I think if we observe it carefully, if it's automatically happening like a robot, or like in the Vishmi's case, if you observe carefully with the relativeness, then you get the calmness, and then we see that there's some stability in what we in the mentally, and then after that we find that mind is trying to play some games inside it, and then there is a big decay in the mental process also, and there's gaps. And if you observe it from outside, I think as a whole we can see, I think, everything, but at a time we can only concentrate on one thing, it seems. And what I feel is most of the time our mind tends to get into one end, maybe to Nama side, or maybe to stay with the Anapanasati, or maybe to catch the emptiness. So if we can keep still, and just observe from outside, I feel that the main object also change time to time. And maybe that is also very interesting, and when we come to, investigate how the mind play games,
So that is how Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, three signata come into being. Your mind also changing, object also changing, mindfulness also changing, concentration also changing, but there's a kind of a sustainability. There's a kind of the theme. You can see your evolution. But in all the places you have one pivotal point, from there only you look around. Your pivotal point is fixed. But in Vipassana, that is shaken. That's the ego is shaken. That's the benchmark is shaken. So therefore you have to be very open, and you are not maintaining the balance on the ground. You are maintaining the balance on the rotating roll in a barrel. You are walking on the barrel, and still you have the balance. So easily you can stay on the ground. But this, you are now rolling on a barrel, acrobats. So Samatha Bhavana is you walking on the ground. Is the ground shaken? Earthquake happened, everything destroyed. But if you are on a shaking this thing or rotating thing, you can have. So that going on a rotating thing is autistic. That's one sign of autistic people is they are very happy to see rotating things. They have put everything in an orderly manner. Even if you call, you don't hear. Never look at one's life, eye. So that happens in meditation. Because the Udayabbe Jnana, when you become Bala Udayabbe, everything is arising, passing away. Vomitish. It is like allergic reaction. You think it is something wrong with the society. You think something wrong with the food. No. Because your mind is now taking multivarious and different objects and different pivotal points, and you don't think this is healthy for your mind. You are happy with one stable point. That is what the concentration and the samatha is. Once that is shaken, you are shaken. But here, you are not taking a balance on one pivotal point. You are ready it's a non-local way. You are not local. That's how the quantum physics is happening. Non-local. So still, there is a consistency, there is a sustainability. You can understand, it is not me, but not me. I feel, but everything is changing. So the Buddha used santati, is called the flux. When everything becomes flux, you feel vomitish. You feel nauseatic. So some people think it's a psychiatric. Some people think it's autistic. But you have to tell and you have to read Surangama Sutta. It says when your perception becomes perverted, how much you can mislead. How can you mislead your psychopaths, co-psychopaths. The Superman people on the earth, they are super psychopaths. They are huge, the followers. They all co-psychopaths. They are reciprocal each other. Game is happening where they are going. So Pandita Sayadaw used to say, there should not have always disciples with you. Don't associate them. Krishnamurti also the same. If you have always associating disciples, that they are slaves. They must have their own independence. Even you become a big meditation master, not always you must have a retinue or something like people following you, retinue. Retinue. It's a sickness. You can't go out of the place. You can't go out of the children, the disciples. You can't go out of the amenities. You don't know how to go and establish a scout camp. So monk is a complete universal person. Even meditatively achieved or not. Because theory is there. Intuition, the inferential knowledge is there. So you can feel if that person working with the intuition knowledge or his meditation experience or theory. Everyone is accused. But don't think you being meditator, others can't see you. No, you are in a famous stage. People can see. When you go to other people, they talk about meditating monks. They are talking about the psychiatrists. They are talking about the popular figures. They are utterly wrong sometimes. Don't think everyone is ready to pay respect and give the 4 requisites. No, everyone is not fool. So therefore, if you wish to get that higher caliber, you must have the adaptability. You have the simplicity. You must have the honesty. And then wherever you go, there you are. You at home. The Buddha is like that. He's omniscient. No, there is no place for him. He is floating, non-local. So that part, don't think the Buddhism is dwindling. Don't think Buddhism is ruining. Don't think it is the rottening. No. That particular energy never rottens. They never go to age. It is ever young. Okay, now time up. Anyone wish to say vote of thanks? The Dhamma Thero is very good and discussion is very good or something like that? No.
Oh, you're the best.
Huh?
You're the best.
No, it is bad. I am telling about, so if you can do it, we'll see. Is it good?
We'll
Yeah.
towards the great master.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir, 3 bags full.
Everybody bow down to the great master.
Yeah. And 3 bags full. One for the master, none for the lady, and none for the, what is the other part?
One for the little boy down the lane.
One for the little boy down the lane. I thought none for the little boy. Good, anyway. That is for you.
Great master, you are
Yeah.
always correct.
That is one bag for, the one bag is for the naughty boy running along the road. One bag.
Okay.
Sukhi hontu.